Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Brandon Jones, your Chief Village Building Strategist, and I want to welcome you all to episode 40 of the Building the Village podcast. Man, wow. 40 episodes. Y'all have been rocking with me. For those of you who've been with me since I was on Spotify for those first 29 episodes, and these last 10 have fully been audio and video. And so whether you've been with us since episode 1 on just Spotify and audio, or you joined us at episode 30 when I got on YouTube, or if today is your first time ever listening to the Building the Village podcast, thank you. For those of you who are new, if you like this episode when it's done and it blesses you and you learn something from it and you're like, man, I know some people who could benefit from this content. Why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you click like? Comment on the episode, leave some feedback or some thoughts, subscribe if you're on YouTube, if you're not already following me on LinkedIn or on Instagram and Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I'm at B Jones Speaks on all of those platforms. If you want to shoot me an email, you can do that. bjones@bjonespeaks.com. And and I'll leave my notes. I'll leave my link tree link in the episode notes. But yeah, I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think about this episode, and if there's other things you'd like for me to talk about related to building the village and what that looks like for individuals. Go ahead and drop me a line in one of those ways. I'm doing something a little bit different. Normally, I try to release episodes on a Tuesday, but since it's the holiday season, it's getting ready to be Thanksgiving when this episode comes out. And so I just felt like, man, I'm feeling the spirit of gratitude because I'm so thankful that y'all been rocking with me with this podcast. And it is a labor of love, as I always say. And you all have become villagers in my respective village. And so I thank you for that. And I'm grateful, man. I'm just really overwhelmed with a lot of great things that are going on in my life right now. And I just want to celebrate and I just want to express how grateful I am. And so I just said, man, let me get in here. Let me record this episode because the holidays can be hard for people. And, for the college students that I work with, we're coming up on the end of the semester. And for the faculty and staff and the folks that I've consulted with and worked with, they're rounding out their quarters and the end of the business cycle. And, there's a lot that goes into this season. And so for me, what I wanted to talk about was, what does it look like to have this blueprint for gratitude? Because gratitude doesn't come easy for folks. If we're not careful, Thanksgiving can be the only time we set aside to be thankful. And so as a result of that, just think about the danger. Think about the danger that comes with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving only happens one time per year as a holiday in the US, at least. And so if Thanksgiving is the only time I've set aside to express gratitude, what does that mean for the rest of the year? What does that mean for the rest of just every month? What does that look like to only express thankfulness one time per year? The other question that I would ask is, why does gratitude seem to take a back seat all the time? Why do we always just set it aside in our lives? And I've been reflecting on that question all day as I've been preparing to do this. And I just got the idea that, you know what, I want to share with folks what it looks like to have a blueprint for gratitude. Maybe you're wanting to apply this at work. Maybe you're wanting to apply this at home. Maybe you're wanting to apply this at school or wherever you find yourself listening to this. And so, again, I'm just going to take a couple minutes to just lay down some thoughts around what it would look like to, have gratitude as a way of life, especially in the villages where we find ourselves. The first thing I'll share is you have to make sure that you choose joy. It's a choice. It is a choice to choose joy. It's a choice. Joy is a choice. Gratitude starts with finding joy, even in the small or seemingly mundane things. Listen, life gonna life. Life is going to life. Life gonna life. Life be lifing, as I say to my students. Life throws curveballs at us, but joy is all about perspective, not perfection. I'm gonna say that again for somebody. Listen, life throws curveballs, but joy is about perspective and not perfection. See, a lot of us are in pursuit of perfection. Everything's got to go right. The house has to be clean this day, this time, this way. This project has to look this way. Got to do this, all of that stuff. But we don't leave room for progress. We don't leave room for perspective, because if I have the right perspective, I may not only have more joy in my life, it might also make it easier to be grateful for the things that I do have. So how do I do this? How do I navigate and make this work? Maybe it's celebrating the fact that I finished a tough project. Yeah, it may not have gone the way we wanted to. We might have gone over budget a little bit, but we finished the project. Or maybe we need to find humor in a mistake that we made, or showing appreciation for that friend who showed up for us when others didn't. That's an important one, because if I've got 5 friends and of the 5, only one showed up, how many times do we over or hyper focus on the 4 that didn't show up and forget to celebrate the one that did? How many times do we give attention to, we hyper focus on our mistakes rather than just going, you know what, I made a mistake and I can learn from it. It wasn't costly. Let me make sure I don't do that again, right? Sometimes we rob ourselves of the opportunities to have joy simply because our perspective is focused on the wrong thing. So I want you to do this. If you got a pen and paper, or if you got your note, give attention to, we hyper focus on our mistakes rather than just going, you know what, I made a mistake and I can learn from it. It wasn't costly. Let me make sure I don't do that again, right? Sometimes we rob ourselves of the opportunities to have joy simply because our perspective is focused on the wrong thing. So I want you to do this. If you got a pen and paper, or if you got your notes app on your phone, why don't you do this? I want you to make a list of those things that are what I like to call joy triggers. What I mean is, what are those 3 to 5 things that no matter what is going on in the world, they constantly, they reliably, they are old faithful, they always bring you joy? What are those 3 to 5 things? I want you to write those things down. Feel free to pause the episode if you need to. I ain't going nowhere, right? But I want you to write those 3 to 5 things down that reliably bring you joy. And when you have a day, or when you have a moment, or when you have times where life is life, and go back and revisit that list, because those joy triggers are going to be those things that get you in the right mood and in the right frame of mind and in the right perspective. And, you know, think about this. How can your joy inspire or uplift other people in your village? Joy is infectious, because here's the thing I don't know anybody, and I certainly am this person too. I don't like being around people who are, as what John Gordon called, energy vampires. I don't need people around me that are constantly bringing me down. Every time you talk to them, something is going wrong. Every time you're talking to them, something crazy has happened. I don't want to be around those people. But those people who got joy, they can find joy in the fact that they made it to work safely that morning. Those people who find joy in, man, I cleared all my emails in my Outlook account today. Man, I checked the mail and wasn't no bills in it. Like, I want to be around those people. So again, you got to make sure that you are constantly choosing joy. Here's the second thing. You got to make a habit of checking in. Think about it. You got to make a habit of checking in with yourself. And what I mean by that is gratitude has to be, you have to check in on whether or not, or you are, excuse me, let me rephrase that. I'm scatterbrained for just a second. Gratitude involves having the daily habit of checking in, whether it's with yourself whether it's with God through prayer or whether it's through meaningful conversations with others. You gotta check in, because if you're not careful, what happens is that we'll get so focused on the problems, we'll forget that we have things that we can be grateful for. It is very important to develop the habit of checking in, or this regular reflection, that it creates this routine. Some of us need to develop some gratitude routines. What gratitude routines do you have? Do you journal? Do you pause and reflect throughout the day? I know my iPhone, at least it used to till I turned it off. Every day it would send me a reminder to sit down and reflect, take a moment to pause, because if I don't, I'm not grounded like I need to be. I'm not centered, and then I'm hyper focused on what's going wrong or what my problems are, and I miss out on those moments to have those daily gratitude celebrations. And so some of us need to develop a gratitude routine. What are those things that you can sit down and just pause and say thank you about? What are those things that you have to be grateful for? Maybe you need to personalize it a little bit and have some statements that you've got at the ready throughout the day, or you got some sticky notes, right? I know for me, I just showed y'all on camera my sticky notepads, but I'm a bibliophile. I like books. And so I got one, a to-do list in the form of the old library card catalog thing. Anyway, or in the inside of the book. And so you could personalize these statements. So one of the things you can say is, for me, gratitude often looks like when I write in my journal. For me, gratitude often looks like a quiet moment of reflection. For me, gratitude looks like stopping and breathing throughout the day. What could it look like for you? And so I want to challenge you to start small and pick one moment each day to reflect on something that you're thankful for. Maybe it's your morning coffee. Maybe it's a kind word. Maybe it's one of those wins at work. But you need to develop the habit of checking in and doing those gratitude checks throughout the day. And then here's the last thing, and this is the most important one in my opinion. You gotta we as villagers, the village needs people who can find gratitude even when life is messy. Pausing for dramatic effect there. In the village, we need people who can help us, or we ourselves need to be able to find gratitude even in the mess. Here's what I'm going to acknowledge though. Gratitude isn't always easy. It's not always easy, especially in tough times. But often it's those hard moments that give us the most perspective. And when we have the most perspective, that's when we really have a unique opportunity to say, wow, man, that didn't go how we planned. But here's what I'm grateful for. In spite of all the stuff that went wrong, here's the one, the two, the three or four things that went right. Man, this may not have worked out the way that I wanted to, but man, you know what? This is all right. Here's the thing that I can hang my hat on, right? Um, we all deal with difficult situations. We all deal with tough times. But here's what I know. Gratitude. Gratitude can help us get through it. I remember a time, man, I was having a rough semester. I work in higher education, as many of you all know, and I was having a rough go at it. And out of nowhere, I think one of my students either sent me an email or I got a message on LinkedIn from a former student or something like that. And they had told me how a workshop I did or something I said on stage as a keynote speaker a few years back really resonated with them. And it helped them get through some tough times. And so they just said, thank you. That message meant a lot to me in that moment. It didn't give me more money. It didn't give me a promotion on my job. It didn't make my marriage better. It didn't make my relationship with my kids better. It wasn't earth shattering things, but that little expression of gratitude from somebody else really helped elevate my mood in the midst of the crazy stuff that I was going through at that time. And so, what's a practical way that you can do that? Sometimes we need to practice reframing. And what I mean by that is when something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself, what's one good thing I can take from this? When life isn't going the way that I want to, what is one good thing that I can take from this experience? And I want to encourage you to ask yourself that question because, again, if I'm hyper focused on the mess, I'm going to perpetually be in the mess. If all I'm focused on is the negativity, then I'm only going to get negative results. I'm only going to be stuck in the negative. That's not toxic positivity. That's not all those things that are getting thrown around right now. What it's saying is that, okay, what do I have control of? In the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Covey talks about the stimulus and the response. I can't control the stimulus or the stimuli, but I can control my response to it. So the question is, do I want to be in the mess or do I want to find some perspective in the mess? Because sometimes having perspective is the pathway to not only peace, but also to gratitude. I'm trying not to preach. Listen, I want to encourage you all to support somebody else in their tough times, in their tough moments. Show appreciation for those people who are going through tough times. Let them know you appreciate them. Let them know that you're there for them in the way that you can be there. Because here's the thing, gratitude is contagious. And not only is it contagious, it can also strengthen connections. So remember, gratitude is about more than just saying thank you. It's about choosing joy, checking in with yourself, and finding meaning even when life gets messy. The last thing I'll ask you is one final reflective question, and that's this: what's one thing you're grateful for today? As you go into Thanksgiving, as you go into this holiday season, what's one thing you're grateful for? And how can you share that gratitude with somebody else in your village? All right. Listen, let's start a gratitude ripple effect in the village. Let's be villagers that are grateful. Let's hashtag grateful village, right? Let's cause this ripple effect and let's express thanks and gratitude to people in our lives and letting them know that we're grateful for them. Now, don't go starting no text thread and messing with people on Thanksgiving because I absolutely hate those. But hey, let somebody know you appreciate them. Show gratitude for the things in your life. I'll put this. I'll share this song in my episode notes. But one of my favorite songs from the late Frankie Beverly, rest in peace, Frank. One of my favorite songs is "Thank You." It's one of my favorite songs that he performs. I love the live version, especially, and it's a celebration to God and just let him know that